Okay, so the sketch has been transferred loosely onto the giant sheet of paper to get the general ideas down, general proportions. Now we wet the paper and get all the impurities off. I've always been terrible at stretching watercolor paper, partly because the paper I use is really thick and really big. I can never get it wet enough. I can never get the tape to work right. It's always a disaster. So I just staple it down and wet it. Masking fluid is this liquid here. It's liquid, but when you put it on, it dries into like a rubbery substance. You just paint it on. It's thick and it doesn't really cooperate very much. It's hard to work with. It clumps up a lot. But you paint it on liquid, it dries within a few minutes. And whatever's underneath is protected. The paper stays white. Watercolor purists say this is cheating. And they don't use mask. And they know, obviously, some tricks I don't, but this is what I do. So, for example, if I want a sky like this, that involves large brushstrokes, and yet I want a building like that stands out, that's why I have to use masking fluid. I don't know how to get those kind of strokes behind that kind of building. So here's the thing about watercolor. It's what we call a transparent medium, meaning that the paint is mixed with a transparent substance, in this case water. So when you put it on, you can actually see through it to some extent. Or you can put a dark color on top of a light one and mix it, of course. But when you put a lighter color on top of a darker color, it's not the same at all because it's transparent. Mostly what you see is the color underneath. Here you go. This is why it's really a challenge to do certain things with watercolor that are really easy with acrylic. So for example, if I'm painting a building, this is a very quick demonstration of some of my cityscapes recently have involved buildings with a lot of windows. The light source actually is the paper itself. So this is what you do, you just paint around the windows. You could add a little film of yellow underneath if you want, but essentially you're painting around the paper, the windows, and letting the paper be the light source. Well, this is kind of an insane process, but going around the edges with little tiny pieces of paper and masking tape to completely block off what I masked off earlier so that I can be free in my brush strokes later in putting on the coat for the sky. Because if I don't do this, the paint will get on the white part. Okay, it's time to mix paint. Every color in the palette is involved in this one color I'm blending for the sky. Based upon the price of French ultramarine, I probably have $20 or $30 of paint in this one wash. So these are my brushes for this wash. This one's just for putting on the water. Then I'll probably go with this one for the first application. I might smooth it out with this hard bristle brush, and then later I might use one of these. Alright, first application is done. Not at all what I had hoped for. Paper's bubbling up, something terrible. It's way lighter than I wanted, and I'm going to need at least one more application. And yes, I do paint on a bouncy ball, in case you're wondering. So I'm going to try the third coat with a softer brush. I have to stand up when I'm doing this. Keep my body moving with the motion of the sky. That's the darkness I was looking for. 3 coats. Just about exactly the right amount of paint. I got enough left over for shadows. Okay, all dry and ready to remove the masking fluid and the tape, which is a delicate process because if it rips the paper, that's a big problem. So I go really slow. Well, all in all, it came out pretty good, I have to say. A few minor blemishes here and there, which I can fix. A little blue here. This is the corner of St. Peter's and Jackson Square. I'm working on the shadows of the cathedral using the color from the sky. I have about 3 different colors I'm going to apply. One to the building itself, stone, one to the shingles and the steeples, and one to the door. So sometimes doing windows, it's easier to use the masking fluid, which is what I did here. Now I'm peeling it off very carefully with a clump of dried masking fluid, of course. So the last thing is the ground here, the stonework. It doesn't look like this. I've decided to create a pattern which is kind of random, but not exactly, and just fill in the blocks as I go. I have masked off the benches, park benches, and the fence and the lamppost, so I can just paint, kind of like paint by the numbers here. Fill in these. Got 3 different colors I'm working with. Fill in these and leave a little space in between where the grout is, or whatever it is in there, concrete. The tricky thing about the benches is that the background was dark. The benches wouldn't stand out, so I had to make some of these backgrounds a little lighter and fill in some of the cracks here. Some of these stars don't look right to me, so I'm going to go in and soften some of the edges here. I almost made the dumb mistake of putting Arabic numerals instead of Roman numerals on the clock. So here's some close-ups, and something I like to do just for fun on these nighttime paintings is to make it black and white and just see what it looks like. Now we got to take the tape off, see what it looks like underneath. Oopsie. Here it is. All done. Alright. Obviously when it's framed, there'll be a little bit on the edges. It will be eliminated, but that's pretty much it. 26 and a half high and 40 wide. So there we go.